In this section, we will be learning about programmatic navigation. But what is that? Programmatic navigation in React Router refers to the ability to navigate between different routes in your application using JavaScript code. Instead of relying on user interactions like clicking on links or buttons, programmatic navigation allows you to programmatically trigger route changes based on certain conditions or events in your application. Now, let's head over to our code and see how that works. After that, let's head over to our app.js file and create a new route for it. So in our app.js, first of all, let's import it. Import searchUser. And then still inside of our navigation route, since we want this to also have our navbar, we're just going to create a new route inside of there. So the element prop is going to be our searchUser component, just like this. And the path URL is simply going to be /search, just like this. Now let's go to our browser and see if this works. Refresh the page, and there we go, we have it. It's a simple form with one input and a submit button. Alright, we will make use of the use navigate hook of the React Router to programmatically navigate between pages. The use navigate hook allows us to navigate between pages without the need of components. So far, we've only been navigating using the link component. Now let's see how we can do the same thing programmatically using the use navigate hook. If we head over to our users.js file over here, you see we have a link component that handles navigation for us. Let's change this to a button HTML tag, just like this. Now we can navigate to any page we want without actually using a link component thanks to the use navigate hook. Let's import it and see for ourselves. So over here, right beside the link component, we can just say use navigate, and then we initialize it into a variable. So we'll say const navigate is equal to use navigate, just like this. Now we've initialized it into a variable which we can now use anywhere in our code. Now let's head down to our button tag and let's make use of the hook inside of an onClick handler. So inside of our opening button tag, we're just going to use an onClick handler here. And inside of the onClick handler, we can call our use navigate function. All right, now let's declare an arrow function. And then here, we can call our navigate function, just like this. So when we use the link component, we navigated to the user's profile page and passed the username as the path parameter. We're going to do exactly that over here. So we're going to use backticks, and the URL path is users, and the URL path is /users/user, and then the username. So here we're just going to grab our username variable, $curly braces, and then we're just going to say user.login, which is the value of our username, just like this. All right, let's head back to our browser and see if this actually works. I'm just going to go to the users page, allow that to load, and let's click on this view user button to see if that actually works. We'll click on it. Yes, as you can see, we are still getting navigated to our user profile page and everything works perfectly fine. And you can really see the convenience of this. The use navigate hook has made it possible for us to trigger navigation from any HTML tag. You can have an image with an onClick handler using the use navigate hook to redirect users to another page when the image is clicked. In this lesson, we would learn how to redirect or navigate a user to a specific page based on application logic. Let's head over to our searchUser.js file over here and immediately import the use navigate hook from React Router DOM. So above, we're just going to say import use navigate from React Router DOM, just like this. Well, as you can see, we have a handle get user function over here that is triggered inside of our handle submit function. Don't worry too much about these. Inside the handle get user function, we send the request to the GitHub API to get a specific user for us, and then there's an if statement to check if that user actually exists. So inside this if statement, we want to navigate the user to the profile page if the user searched does exist. And if the user doesn't exist, we have a catch method over here that displays the message user does not exist and the number of attempts you have left, right? This is a typical use case for programmatic redirect. Think of this as an authentication functionality where your users attempt to log into your website and then you redirect them to another page after successful authentication. Let's see how that works for this application. First of all, we import our useNavigate hook from React Router DOM, which I have already done over here. And then down here, let's initialize it into a variable like we did in our previous lesson. So we say const navigate is equal to useNavigate, just like this. Then inside of our if statement, when the user is found, we call the navigate object, which we just created, and then in parentheses, we impute the page we want to navigate to, just like we did in the previous lesson. So we say navigate, parentheses, and then the page we want to navigate the user to when this works. In this case, we want to navigate the user to the user's profile. So we are going to use backticks /users /user, and then the user which was searched. So we say $ curly braces, that should be $, not $4, $ curly braces, and then the username imputed. All right. Now let's head over to our browser and see if this actually works. So back in our browser, we just have to go to /search, just like this. And then let's try and search for a possible GitHub user. Let's try the name Jonathan. I hit enter. All right, Jonathan does exist. And then you see we have Jonathan's GitHub profile over here. Let's attempt a random name that might not exist. So in here, I'm just going to put random characters. Submit, and as you can see, we have our error message, user does not exist, 2 attempts remaining. Let's head back to our searchUser.js file. We have a use effect hook inside of which we have an if statement that is meant to tell the user they are out of attempts. So inside of here, we also want to redirect the user back to the home page after a few seconds. So when the user runs out of attempts, instead of just saying too many attempts redirecting, we want to actually redirect the user back to the home page after a few seconds. And for that, we are going to use a timeout function. So right below our set error message over here, we're just going to call a set timeout function. And we're going to set this timeout to 3 seconds. So this is going to run after 3 seconds. And inside here, we can call our useNavigate function to navigate the user back to the home page when this is triggered. Again, we already initiate our useNavigate hook over here, so we can use that variable inside of our timeout function. So here, we simply say navigate, and then we specify the URL we want to navigate the user to, which is our home page, so we impute / over here. Let's also add the navigate variable as our use effect dependency. So over here, I'm just going to add it, navigate, just like this. All right, let's head over to our browser and see if this actually works. So back in our browser, I'm just going to refresh the page. Now let's attempt a random username we know cannot be a username for a GitHub user. All right, I'm just going to input random strings, hit enter. Now as you can see, user does not exist, 2 attempts remaining. Submit the form again, we now have 1 attempt remaining. Submit the form again, too many attempts redirecting. After 3 seconds, as you can see, we get redirected back to our home page. This is exactly what we wanted, and that works. Now, at the end of this course, we will build a project that uses more complex navigation. That is where you will solidify all of these concepts and become a pro in React Router. So don't worry too much if you don't understand all of these concepts at this time. By the time we build more complex projects, you will understand all of these concepts pretty much easily.